Hello there, sir, madame. Can I interest you in some video game with your advertising? It is time for this week's edition of the Respec Ramblings podcast with me, Alex Donaldson, Tom Orry, Mikhail Madnani, and James Galizio. So,
Hello.
how you doing, fellas?
Had a very busy week this week.
I know you can't talk about some of that, but yeah.
Yeah. I can't talk about any of it yet. Just needless to say, was a bit of it was a lot.
Well, you will, people will, I'm sure, maybe you come back on and talk about some of the stuff you've seen and done when embargoes have lifted. But it's a weird time right now, right? Because I'm finding it's really not very busy for us in what we're putting out. Like the website quite quiet. There's not a huge amount of news going on and stuff like that. But behind the scenes, there's quite a lot going on in terms of we're obviously on the run up now to both Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in the Patreon off topic, get into some inside baseball on that. Tom, how's your week been?
It's all right. Been mostly doing reviews, which I kind of forgot how much time they take. I've had minions to do reviews for a long time. And now it's like, got to find 40 hours to play these things and then also write about them. Yeah. It's a young man's game, young person's game.
It is a young person's game. It is. Well, we'll talk about your reviews in a moment. Mikhail, who, if you're watching the video person, is currently represented by some lovely Xenoblade. Xenoblade? I say Xenoblade because I'm British.
I think we can see his reflection in the in that little metallic base.
In that stupid vertical stand sold separately PlayStation 5 thing. Yeah.
40. Are those? Is that 40 quid, right?
I think I paid like 25 when I got it. And this stuff isn't even available easily over here, so I had to get it through an import store or something because it's annoying. You can't set it up normally, and the things they give you with the console, it's like they've 3D printed these stupid toothpicks or something. So yeah, I got this, and week's been really busy. Like a shitload of stuff on RPG side, some stuff on Respec, some stuff probably going up on Respec today and tomorrow, maybe. I don't know. Lot of stuff happening. Like how Tom said, I don't want to do reviews or whatever anymore, but I thought doing comparisons would be less work, but yeah, absolutely not. Been drowning in that stuff. So, and on Halo today as well, which we'll talk about.
Yes. Well, to be fair, maybe that's what we jump right into. So, Tom, you had two big reviews this week. They are sometimes like buses where there aren't any and then several come along at once. And you reviewed both Halo Campaign Evolved and Splatoon Raiders. I don't know which you want to talk about first.
Let's start with Halo, as that is the one that's more recent in terms of it went live more recently. So Halo is I loved Halo, right? I think if you played it, obviously some people played it back on release 25 years ago and were like, nah, I've got a PC, I've played games like this before, whatever. I was big into PC gaming back then, but also I loved Halo, right? I loved it. To me, it felt different to what we were getting on PCs at the time. Brilliant co-op, used to play co-op a lot with friends at uni and stuff. And it just felt like a real, maybe one of the last mega huge launch games of any. It felt like a big deal, right? This was like a system, what we used to call system sellers, right? And it was a big deal, and it was great to play. It felt like bigger in scope than what we'd had previously. It had issues, obviously, and over time, those issues were sort of talked about more and more. But it still, despite those, was an incredible launch game for the Xbox, right? Now, Halo, and I've seen people have been moaning that just judge the game, etc. But Halo is launched at a time when it feels completely different. Like Halo was a showpiece game, right? It was the thing that Xbox built its entire console business around, pretty much, right? And now it kind of is coming out almost as like a, remember we do this stuff that you liked kind of stuff. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like a exciting moment like it possibly should do. It feels like a kind of, I realize the people that made this put a lot of time and effort into it, and they've done a good job mostly, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels almost like a desperation kind of thing, right? They're like, how can we make Halo relevant again? Can we make it popular again? And that is possibly just timing, right? Things have happened over the last few years that have put Xbox in a position where they're not doing that great, right? Various things have happened. Layoffs is kind of the even but the layup side, maybe isn't even the worst thing that they've been involved with as a wider Microsoft business. But the game itself, like, I like it. Like, I like what they've done here. I think it is a fairly authentic remake in that if you haven't, like, I've played Halo a lot, but I haven't replayed it as much, like, in the last 5 years or so that I had previously. Like, I used to play it quite often. Played the Master Chief Collection, and it feels and looks like I remember Halo feeling and looking, although it looks significantly better. Like, it looks at points really quite amazing to look at, right? It's done a really good job remaking it. It's got a lot of tweaks that people will be, I have fairly different views about, right? So you've got stuff like weapons that you couldn't previously use, like the energy sword, which you may think you could use the energy sword in Halo. You couldn't use it in the campaign for sure, but now you can, and it doesn't feel out of place to me because you could use it later on, right? So it became a thing you could use, and it didn't feel out of place because my memory was kind of, I guess, mixed between loads of Halo games over the years. You can aim down sights and with all the weapons, right? That's something you couldn't do before. You can run, which again, like, it doesn't feel out of place to me having that in there. And I think actually helps quite a few of the levels where you've got a lot of wandering around, to be fair, and sometimes it was a bit ponderous, kind of making your way back through levels and stuff. And now you can run. It feels like it was there all along to me. It doesn't feel out of place at all. And they've made some tweaks to certain bits of the game, like the library is tweaked, I would say. I never hated it, to be fair. Like, I was not one of these people that hated playing that. It's a lot more, without going back and judging it exactly like room by room, it feels more streamlined, I'd say. But yeah, like, overall, it's a very nicely done remake, which makes you think, oh, this is how I remember Halo, despite it being like significantly more visually impressive. They've added a load of like replayability stuff, via the skulls. Skulls obviously are a big part of Halo. You add modifiers to the game so you can do sort of reruns that change a lot of stuff, and it's really quite cool. You can lock, I don't know the exact number, it's like 40 odd different skulls that modify the game. So you can, some of those are simple things like you can disable some of the stuff they've added to make it more authentic. You've got a third person mode, got various other things that kind of mix up what weapons are dropped to various places where enemies are in locations, so you get a different feel to those levels than you had before. There's 3 new missions, which I don't dislike, but also they're kind of just there. Like, there's nothing particularly memorable about them. They throw in some enemies that aren't in the original game, but they are in later games. So it feels a bit like, oh yeah, like those things that you know already are there. And it's kind of like a fine, like, it's fine, but like, you won't be like, whoa, those 3 missions are incredible. But I like them enough, and I think considering Halo isn't the longest campaign, those 3 levels aren't bad. Like, I don't object to them being there by any means. The main thing I dislike about this, and I'm a bit confused about why it hasn't been more of a thing, is how badly it runs. Like, on it, I played it on PS5 Pro, which I assumed would be the best way to play on a console, at least, right outside of a good PC. I figured that would be the way to play it, particularly as this is Unreal Engine 5, which doesn't run amazingly on consoles generally when they push it. Figured that would be a good way to play it. Started off it's got quality mode, performance mode. Quality mode immediately was just like, I played it and my son was watching, and he's 12. He's not like the most experienced of gamers, so to speak. And he was like, is this broken? Like, he looked at it and it was so sluggish, and like the motion blur was like almost like dragging as you looked around. It just looked bad.
I mean, to be fair though, like at that age, like with this console generation, 60 FPS has been the norm. So
yeah. I mean, he plays he mostly plays like Fortnite and stuff, so he's used to it being fairly quick and smooth. And he noticed it. I noticed it. It didn't look right. Like, it didn't look like a good. Sometimes 30 is sort of acceptable, like it feels okay when done well. This doesn't. At least what I played on the Pro. We switched it to performance mode, and it looks rougher, but it was significantly smoother. But still, a lot of the time, it just bogged down pretty badly, to the point where I thought, this is going to, is this whole thing going to just crash? Because it was chugging so badly. It felt like enemies were like losing frames of animation and stuff. It was pretty bad.
Is that just like brute forcing like native 4K on the PS5 Pro in quality mode?
I don't think it is, because this is performance mode, so it definitely looked rougher. Like, it wasn't running at the same resolution as quality mode. So I don't know. Like, something is bothering it, which I expect they may well fix. Like, it looks like the kind of thing that something's been triggered, some kind of issue, and it's just
mostly PlayStation, these issues, right? It sounds like Xbox is pretty good.
I mean, it may
be honest,
I
think like, wasn't this done by Virtuos, who also did the Oblivion remaster?
Don't know, to be honest.
I think they assisted on something.
They assist, because I was going to say, because the way I look at this is Halo Studios, formerly the artist formerly known as 343, trying to get their feet under the table, which is why you have that weird thing of like, they've built all the weapons from Halo 2 and 3 and brutes and things like that aren't in this game, and put them in as like we're we've got this stuff, so now we can do the other games if we want to, which I'm sure that's the plan, right? So, but it wouldn't surprise me, because Oblivion had all manner of problems on PlayStation, didn't it?
So I checked this. So it is co-developed by Virtuos, and like, the reason I bring that up is because Oblivion had similar issues on everything. Like, that's notoriously bad. It's a game which will run worse the more you play it. I don't think that would be a problem here, but Oblivion never got fixed. And when they announced the Switch 2 port, I'm like, are you serious? Like, how are you? It runs like shit on PS5 Pro unless you like tweak it and stuff and like keep rebooting. So I haven't played it much yet on PS5 Pro. Like, I got code as soon as, I think, an hour after your review went up. So I'll be working on that soon. But this is Unreal Engine 5 game pushing visuals on console is going to be running at a low resolution. Like, that's just the thing. My only hope was, because they are using the good upscaling on PS5 Pro, that it would look nice. But I wouldn't play this at 30 FPS. Like, Oblivion I could deal with, because I've always played Skyrim at 30. So that's just how I'm used to it. But with this, I can't play a first person shooter at 30. Like, I think the one time I made the exception was when, like, remember when Doom came to Switch in 2017 and everyone was like, oh, it's on a portable for the first time and all that. So I mean, even I did that. Like, it was fine, I tolerated it, but I'm not doing that now, especially not on PS5 Pro. But the one thing I can say is I've played this on Steam Deck a bit. I'll probably write something about that today. It's a Steam Deck verified game, and it should not be verified, because not only can it's, you literally cannot get it to run well whatever you do, and the default settings are just awful. It feels like it honestly feels like Pokemon on Switch 1. It's that bad. I would not call it verified. By default, to be clear, you can tweak it and stuff, which I'm working on, like how to get it to an acceptable place. But this is a 20 to 30 experience over there, unless you really make it look awful, and it should not be verified. This is one of those Valve marked a big game coming out as verified for marketing reasons type thing. It's not like, Tom's issues on like the most powerful console. Like, there was no chance it was going to run well on Steam Deck. But when they said verified, I thought, maybe it's like Elden Ring, where Valve does some work to make it run, because like Elden Ring is still best on Steam Deck on PC. You cannot get it to run without stuttering on Windows at all. So I was hoping this might be one of those things, but it's not looking great so far. And I have not played Halo campaign Combat Evolved since I got an Xbox One X when I bought the Master Chief Collection. I never played the original or anything. So that was my first time playing it, and I never finished it. So I'm looking forward to doing that this weekend. It's not good on low end systems. I don't even know how it's going to be on. I have it on Xbox as well. I'm downloading it there, so we'll see.
Have you seen, Alex, have you seen what it's like on Series S or not?
I have not. So I literally got code like an hour before we started recording. So I started downloading it. And I'm not at home, as people who are watching the video version and watch every week might be able to tell. So I only have a Series S here. So I'm about to find out.
No.
Because I won't be home for another few days. So, yeah, I will check that out. The one thing that obviously we haven't mentioned the elephant in the room. Obviously, it's in the title, right? That it's campaign evolved and there is no multiplayer element. And the one thing I would say, anecdotal, right? But I think it's telling where the day, because it's not been a game that's had a tremendously big hype cycle. And then the day that this was coming out, my boys' group chat, which I will often refer to this group chat, probably the first time I've referred to it on this podcast, but I have referred to it on places like VGC and things like that in the past. And basically, this is my group chat of all my core mates, the 17 lads in there. And I love this group chat for video game stuff because these are just all the guys that I go to the pub with and stuff like that and whatever, go on holiday with, all my oldest friends. But we've all been together a very long time. So among that 17 people, it runs the gamut of like what sort of jobs people are in, what sort of class background people are from. So we've got mechanics and builders and plumbers and accountants and teachers, and it really runs the gamut. And it also runs the gamut in terms of how much we play games. Some of the lads, we all played them growing up, but some of them have just completely stopped. Some of them have not owned a current gen console. Some of them are like, they've got high-end PCs, but they don't buy that many games. They buy the big games. Some of them are high-end PCs, but they've fallen into the indie game hole, and they only play like indie games and a load of big map strategy games and Paradox and stuff. And anyway, I digress. The point is, I think it's a pretty good cross-section of gamers in their 30s. And this chat noticed that Halo was coming out, and people started talking about it. And very quickly, people started talking about, remember when, remember this, remember that. And it was all multiplayer memories. And then someone said, this doesn't have multiplayer. And instantly all the interest evaporated. But I found it interesting because it shows the power of something like Halo, where a load of lads who don't necessarily run to the latest release, who aren't buying Call of Duty every year, for instance, who've fallen off that train, were like, oh yeah, I'll go back to a remake of one of the Halo games I loved. And then when they realised it was only the campaign, they were like, actually, I'll give it a miss.
I think it's a shame. I mean, it does have 4-player co-op online, which is good. Like, it is, particularly with the skull stuff, you could make some fairly cool, different feeling playthroughs. But yeah, like the no multiplayer stuff, I guess they didn't want to have to support another multiplayer game, and they were probably working on something else, which may or may not have.
Yeah.
Been
I wonder
canned.
if
I will say,
sorry.
I will say, like, Microsoft's been weird about Halo multiplayer for a while now, because I remember when Infinite came out, like, I don't know if anyone else here, well, no, Mikhail, I'm sure you have seen, like, a physical Halo Infinite box for, like,
I
Xbox
own one,
Series.
yeah. I own one.
If you went to buy a physical copy of Halo Infinite, if you picked it up, looked on the back of the box, it would advertise our free multiplayer mode. So if you were just in it for the multiplayer and you were like going to spend $60, $70 on this, Microsoft was like, you can put that right back.
Yeah, this is one of the issues which I also noticed. I mean, not an issue, it's just how they like brand it or whatever. When GTA 5 got its PS5 and Xbox Series version, on PS5 it just showed up as GTA, but on Xbox it shows up as GTA Online with the campaign as DLC. Yep. And that's kind of how the Halo Infinite is also. So if you put the disc in, it's multiplayer with the campaign as DLC. I believe that's how it is on Steam as well. Like you add Infinite to your account for free and the campaign is DLC. So it's a bizarre thing. I haven't inserted that disc into the console because like you said, it's free, right? And I have the campaign on Game Pass, but yeah.
It was weird at that time anyway, because Master Chief Collection split the games the same way, right? And I think some of that was, I don't know, maybe some of that was about weird goals they had, but I think doubtless also some of it was just about, like managing install space. Like that was because the whole thing was if you got all of Master Chief Collection, it was like 500 gig, and that was like half of your average Xbox One. Not even that, more. Because how much is the Xbox One hard drive? Some of them only had 500. But so obviously by letting you manage it and go, I want ODST, I want Halo 3 multiplayer, but I don't need the campaign at this stage. It let you manage it more. So I think some of it was about that. It was also just, it was such a weird time for multiplayer games, right? I think of Halo 5 and Infinite as such weird beasts. 5 had that multiplayer that was really COD thinking. And then Infinite
the cards
was this reversion.
and the weird stuff with that, yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked. I actually really liked Infinite. The only thing I didn't really like about it is the story just sort of stops, because obviously their whole idea was, it's going to be Infinite. We're going to do seasons and there'll be updates.
I'd argue the story for Infinite doesn't even really start to begin with. It kind of just spins its wheels the entire time.
I don't know. I liked New Cortana and things like that. Like I liked the idea behind.
I wish they properly explained how you got from the ending of Halo 5, where it's like, oh, she's the big. But I digress.
Yeah. But
you know, the one thing about the multiplayer that I'm confused about is they put in all this effort to do cross progression, cross save. Like you can literally play someone on Steam, someone on Xbox Series S, someone on PS5 Pro, someone on the cloud. You can all play together and stuff. They put in this effort. You can even get your saves across. Like that's my favorite thing. It's going to save me time for sure today. But I just feel like they put in all this effort. There has to be something coming to like build on it. You can't just have this be like your budget campaign thing. Like you have to do more with it, is what I
don't think there'll be DLC though. I think what's coming is this is a foundation for what they want to do next. But I think it does speak to, and Tom touched on this, Xbox in a weird place at the moment. And it's like, this is a perfectly good game, but the nature of it sort of speaks to where Xbox is at. So their good thing is sort of a victory, not a victory lap, sort of a reliving of a past victory lap, except because of the nature of it, because they're just releasing the campaign with no multiplayer and stuff like that, it's also a weirdly diminished version of what they did well in the past. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm sure we all will not be complaining if next year they go, we've used the tech and tools from this, and here's a free-to-play Halo multiplayer experience that absolutely slaps. Will it happen? I don't know. But it feels weirdly a microcosm of the whole Xbox thing, where there are resources and there's good ideas, but the execution ends up feeling weird and lacking in some ways. And yeah. And the performance thing is strange.
It feels weird because you mentioning, oh, well, if they have like a free-to-play Halo multiplayer game that absolutely slaps next year, they could just go back to supporting Infinite. That slaps now.
I feel like they
feel Forge.
I feel like they have decided that is a lost cause, and also obviously part of the thing was they didn't want to deal with Slipstream anymore, the engine.
Yeah,
so they'd have to, and then you would have a point where you're going, are we going to port Infinite, or are we gonna like start from scratch? And I think at that stage you may as well start from scratch, and that's clearly what this is, right? That's why you are building. I don't know, I haven't played it, but I know that there's weapons that you don't get, so that's why you're like putting the brute weapons in. I don't know, is there a Spartan laser in the levels? I bet there is in the new levels.
There are laser guns. I can't remember if it's that particular one. There's a lot of stuff that isn't in the.
I mean, the laser. Most
campaign.
Of the laser guns were the Forerunner weapons from 4 and 5. A lot of those were laser.
I don't remember a laser gun. There is. I think you can pick up some other. Like, there's definitely some stuff that feels almost a bit OP in the new stuff. You can kind of like cheat your way through some of it because it's so powerful. But yeah, like this is to like sum up, I think this is a good remake, but if without the performance issues, I'd be very happy with it. And I'd be pleased if they continue this with the other Halo games for sure, which I think they could hopefully do alongside some new stuff. Like, I think if they spend the next 10 years just remaking Halo games, that'll feel a bit of a disappointment probably. But they could do that. Like, I'd still be fairly happy to play through them and see what they do to them. But something new at some point would be good.
Honestly,
sure.
I think if you're those guys, as sorry as it sounds, you give the same treatment to 2 and to 3, and if you've already built the weapons and like the AI routines for the brutes, which is different to the elites and all that sort of stuff, if you've already built half that stuff, you've probably done a lot of the legwork on redoing those campaigns. So you could easily do 2 more campaign evolved titles. And Microsoft's whole thing is meant to be now, under Sharma's leadership, is meant to be, we've cancelled a load of games, we've got rid of studios, we've slimmed down teams, and we're gonna spend the same amount of money, and we want to spend that money in narrower places. So rather than funding 10 games, maybe they're only funding 3, but those 3 happen quicker. And if that's viable is another question. But
I think two would be even stranger in a way, because 2 for me was the multiplayer one. 2 was the one that had the Xbox Live, like in the big push for Xbox Live. It felt like that was the game for Xbox Live for a long time. Obviously 2 was the one that they got running on the 360 at launch, right? Because it was still popular. The online was still a big deal. So if that launched just campaign, I'm sure they would do stuff like they had the restored stuff on PC, right? You could get some restored stuff that was cut, I think, already. 2, I think they'd have to do something with a campaign to make it. If they were just campaign only and selling it as for a solo release, they'd have to either add some significant stuff
or is it 2 and 3 campaign evolved together?
Yeah,
because it's a game with a cliffhanger, so you just delete the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a strange one, but I'm looking forward to playing it. I like a bit of Halo. It's and I will report back on how it runs on another platform. But on Series S rather. But and I'm going to check it out on the ROG Ally, which I imagine Mikhail's going to check it out on the non-Xbox version of that. But I have been wrestling with that bloody thing all week, trying to make
When it works, I like that.
When it works, it's amazing.
Software issues,
getting it updated is a right pain.
Yeah,
it does. It's. I did a post on Blue Sky about this, where it's like I was going to save. I'll talk more about this on the Patreon pod, but I did a Blue Sky post that was like the everything is an Xbox experience in a nutshell is me taking the ROG Ally X out of a cupboard, having not played it in a few months, and I fully expect there to be updates. That would be true of anything. A Switch, I booted my 3DS the other day and it prompted me with updates. But because it's just a Windows PC, the nature of those updates coming down was an absolute nightmare. It soft locked on me like 2 or 3 times. Had to like hard reboot it. It was a nightmare. But when it works, it's amazing. And now I've sort of got it working again, and I will probably play quite a bit of Halo on it, and I'm going to play a bit of First Light on it as well. But there we go. Anyway, that's Halo.
I'm sure Microsoft would hate to hear this said about the Xbox Ally X, but honestly, just put SteamOS on it, dude. It works.
Well, to be honest, part of the reason
why
I got
on
it
SteamOS.
Well, part of the reason why I got it out of the cupboard is obviously Valve's whole push about we're going to let anything be a Steam machine. I was sat there and I was like, the ROG Ally X would probably be a pretty good Steam machine, portable Steam machine. It's turned to be better than my Steam Deck. Indeed, it is on compatible games. Anyway. So speaking of handheld machines, hybrid machines, you also spent a lot of time playing the Switch 2 over the last few weeks. Tom, playing Splatoon Raiders. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, even like I'm very positive about this. Like I think Splatoon, I know it's pretty massive in Japan, right? I think it's like one of the biggest sellers on Switch. it never felt like it's quite as big deal elsewhere, but it's always been popular in my house because my son loved it. Like he was like proper obsessed with the multiplayer in particularly the second one. 3, he didn't quite get into as much, but 2, he loved, played it a lot. So I've been exposed to it, but I've never done much outside of like when he was trying to get through the campaign bits in those games, just helping out now and again. So I know it, but I don't know it like I've played lots of it. So I played this kind of, first of all, like I haven't followed it massively, so I didn't really know it was a looter shooter particularly. Like I knew it was like they build it as this sort of single player experience, which it is and isn't. Like it certainly is single player, but also equally a co-op game, I would say. And it's a kind of like you go off and do these sort of fairly short missions to get loot, basically. And then as you progress, you can kind of build up your base, and that adds new abilities and things you can build and craft and everything else. But it's just kind of like I guess if you've maybe felt overwhelmed by something like, say, Borderlands, which is, I guess, like, sorry, so much loot, so much stuff, and also like sprawling sort of campaign, and particularly the newer one, more open and everything else. It feels this is a much more accessible version of that. And for me, it fits my life a lot better than something where you have to spend a lot of time going off and maybe organizing groups and playing together and stuff and everything else. Like if you hear the word raid, which this uses, like raid is what they call most of the missions, you think, oh God, I've got to get a crew together. I've got to dedicate an hour and a half to go on this thing. It's not like that at all. Like most of the levels you can beat in, I could say, like 5 to 10 minutes, probably. Like they're quite short, but then there's a lot of replayability to those. You unlock new stuff. Like there's a lot of these little levels to play, bosses to fight, etc. And it just feels really good. It's got that kind of like, I've done that, and I'm quickly going to do the next one. I'm going to replay that other one at a harder difficulty and get more stuff. Not difficulty as such, but you unlock harder versions of the earlier missions rather than just upping the difficulty. And they tweak them a bit. And it just feels like a kind of game that you're getting that feedback, the loop of I'm doing this thing, I'm getting some new cool stuff. I'm going to see how those new weapons feel. I'm going to upgrade those weapons. I'm going to upgrade my base. I'm going to do all this cool stuff. I'm going to see what new gadgets I've got for my tanks. So you've got this feeling of you're constantly making progress towards the next thing. And it has that kind of like, it just feels very Nintendo in that, like, it's not, if you kind of look at it, it's not really doing much that hasn't been done before, but it's just done it really well. Everything works as you think it should. It feels like there's this level of like progress that just, it's fairly like frictionless in a way. Like there was one bit that I went back and felt I had to, I guess, grind a bit to get a level up enough to tackle some stuff. But mostly you can work through and it feels like you're always getting somewhere rather than being stuck, which I think does happen in other games where you have to really grind to get anywhere. And it's just a very streamlined, well-made looter shooter. But I did play mostly on my own. Like I've seen people say that it doesn't really work solo. I think it does. It definitely does. Like it feels a bit different when you're playing with other people, and you can kind of hop into, like, people can say, I need someone to help me. You can hop in to help them, or you can do the same and people can hop in to help you. And it feels a bit more like maybe you might think a traditional sort of raid-based looter shooter would feel, like a Destiny or something. But I played it fine on my own. It didn't feel like I was missing anything as such. Runs really nicely. Like you just talked about Halo. This runs perfectly as far as I can see. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. It never feels like it's struggling. It's fairly basic to look at, I would say. Like you've got fairly minimalist levels. Like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of stuff going on. You've got the bit you're walking along, some platforms, some enemies, and that's kind of it. But it's fine. Like it works. It's got character, which I think like Splatoon has made this look for itself, and you know that's Splatoon because they've got this look. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's also, released cheaper than the average game. I'm not sure how much it's like £42 or something maybe, which doesn't sound cheap, but it's cheaper than the average
Yeah, no,
game these days, I think.
that is right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, go ahead,
$50. Yeah, it's $50 compared to like everything now, which is 70 for them. I have a question for you though. Like since you played this mostly solo, did you play the Splatoon 3 DLC side order?
I didn't. No.
Okay, because from what I've heard, everyone seems to be saying this is similar to Splatoon 2's DLC with some bits of Splatoon 3's DLC. So I like both of those a lot. Like you said, right? Your son didn't get on much with Splatoon 3. That was similar to me. Like it just felt like I was playing more of the same thing. They didn't fix the connection issues. You still had like some of the bullshit to play with friends. Like remember with Splatoon 2, they had that Ubisoft tier chart for how to play with friends with like, oh, connect this wire here, use the app over here, and then slap yourself and shit over. Anyway, so with this, I'm just hoping I can just get in and play with someone like on my friends list with an invite or something. That's my main hope.
Yes. Okay, so I've been playing this all today. I was playing, all of yesterday. I was playing with a buddy of mine, literally just like a few minutes before I hopped in for the podcast. I was in a Discord server with a friend, and we were just playing Splatoon Raiders for like 4 or 5 hours. And it's literally as simple as once you've done the tutorial, you go to the multiplayer antenna thing, you can create a room or join a room off of someone on your friends list, and then you can do anything. You can join them on their story, you can do the story together. There's no friction there. And if you're like a little bit stronger than them, then you will have enemies sync up to you on your end, but it won't impact them. So the loot you'll get and the amount of damage you're going to take and how much HP it's very similar to how like eye level scaling in World of Warcraft dungeons works, where it's like it's kind of more like local to your character.
That's very
rather
friendly.
than I mean, I have absolutely no complaints with the multiplayer. It's very seamless. It's very easy to get into, and there's very, very little restrictions. It even has these nice little quality of life features where if the host has selected the mission that they want to go on, if someone's currently in a menu, the countdown before the mission goes out, assuming not everyone has confirmed, the countdown won't start until everyone has gotten out of a menu, so they can actually see, a mission has been picked. Stuff like that.
It's like it feels like they're getting better at that sort of stuff. This definitely feels like another one of those Switch 2 games. We've got a few of them that feels like it could have been a Switch 1 game, really.
I think it could. I think yes, possibly, but there is a lot going on at times.
Yeah,
there's a lot of enemies, and it still runs well. And they probably could have got it on Switch, but I think they'd have had to scale it back a bit, probably, or it looked horrendously low res. But yeah, it's on the face of it just looks like Splatoon again, right? It doesn't look like anything much, but there's a lot going on. But it does run really well. It's super smooth. And there is particularly some of the bosses look pretty impressive. It's not a showpiece game, but it just runs. I've got nothing bad to say about it. It just is good. It runs well. It's sharp. The only negative I have really is that I noticed that because it's a gyro, I think you can probably turn off the gyro aiming, but I didn't. I
think it's very much built though to be played. Because oftentimes you get shooters, or it's like when they grafted gyro controls onto the bow in Ocarina of Time on 3DS. It felt like something that had been grafted on. But Splatoon was always the game where it's like, this is built to be played like that.
Yeah, the only negative I have is that the Switch 2 is quite heavy compared to the Switch. And I've definitely felt like it's just over time, I could feel that heaviness a bit. Not that, maybe I should work out more, but it's just I could see it feeling easier to play for longer periods on the original Switch because it's just lighter. But yeah, that's a minor criticism, and I got used to it. I think initially I was like, this is not as easy to play as it was previously because of the weight, particularly in handheld mode. Obviously, if you're playing on a TV, that's a non-issue. But yeah, like I think I definitely recommend this game. Like it's good fun. Like certainly like Switch 2, I've kind of like since Mario Kart and well, I guess since Donkey Kong, which is like a year old now, unbelievably, I can't quite believe it is a year old. I haven't really played the Switch 2 that much.
No.
And this definitely got me back on. It's that classic thing where you use something again and suddenly it's like back in rotation. I'm playing some other stuff that I didn't play much before. Like I've gone back and played a bit more Mario Kart and stuff because I was just using the Switch more. But yeah, like definitely a good game. I mean, if you're at all, if it sounds like something you're into, you'll probably like it. Like there's not much to dislike about it in my mind. It's just a fun game. I think if you have got someone who wants to play it as well, you probably get even more out of it because you've got that co-op friend aspect too.
I'm going to pick that up. Because actually, a funny thing about me, I really enjoy Splatoon, but don't know. I have limited bandwidth for multiplayer games, and if it's eating into Street Fighter time or whatever, it's got to be something that really grabs me. And Splatoon, not since the first one, hasn't really in that way. But the idea of a Splatoon that I can now, you've said it's mostly soloable, and I could just solo it. That's interesting to me.
You know what?
Okay.
One thing which remember in Splatoon 2, one of the modes you could play as a PvE thing had that stupid time thing where you could only play it for like a few hours a day. Like all that dog shit was still in place back then. I was just thinking that imagine if Splatoon Raiders, you bought the game, you put it in, and it says come back in 3 hours to play, because they made the whole game based around those kinds of modes, right? Imagine if they did that. But yeah, I was just thinking that, remember how they just patched Splatoon 3 randomly on Switch 2 with 4K support, and they like upped the frame rate in the hub and all? It just got me thinking that, was this going to be planned as that $20 DLC, which they've done for like Kirby and Mario Party, which they initially were going to tack on to that, but they decided to just go ham with it and build it into its own thing. And they released it as a budget game in the end. That's what it gives me, that vibe, not in a bad way, but it just like, it's good to like have smaller games, standalone things, I'd say.
It would not surprise me. Nintendo has been surprisingly nimble about this. I mean, I'll pull something up that we're going to do that I was going to discuss later into this discussion, but it's an interesting interview with Miyamoto this week, where he talked about various things, Japanese language interview. But in that interview, he said that Nintendo's now considering movies when deciding what to make. So it's like Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, in part, went in production because they were looking at the script for Mario 2 and going, okay, Yoshi's got a big role, yada. And like similarly, he confirmed what people had suspected, which was that Star Fox went into production after like Illumination said, we'd like to use Fox in the movie. But what that shows also is we know the timelines on those films. And so what that tells us is the timeline on that Star Fox development was probably quite tight, quite short. And it shows that you've got perhaps more than most of us. Nintendo clearly is quite nimble and is making decisions like that, going, let's have a Star Fox game. How can we get a Star Fox game out quick? It's with a third-party development partner, in fact, two third-party development partners, and remaking something that already exists. So you're not going through all the iteration. And similarly, I do think sometimes you're getting, here's a DLC that wasn't quite working. Can we beef it out, flesh it out, and make it into a standalone thing? And it would not surprise me if this perhaps had its genesis as a DLC. And I don't know, I'm sure someone in on the Discord or in the comments or whatever will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure at some point or another they said that initially with Tears of the Kingdom they were like, should this be DLC? And then as it grew they were like, no, this is a sequel. So yeah. We're already running long, so let's very, very quickly. I just want to touch on two Xbox stories. First one is more just a note, because I've played it, but only for like an hour, and I need to play some more, so maybe we'll discuss it a bit more next week. But the program has now launched where Xbox backwards compatibility on PC. So there are 4 OG Xbox games now able to run on PC and on other devices like the ROG Ally and things like that. So that's Blinks, the Time Sweeper, Conquer Live and Reloaded, Crimson Skies and Bill Gates' favorite game, Fusion Frenzy. You can buy those on PC attached to your Xbox account, or they're in Game Pass if you're in any tier of Game Pass. Pretty interesting because the 4 times resolution scaling, VSync, anti-aliasing, there's actually a settings menu. It doesn't have them at the minute, but there are plans to add achievements back to these games, so you'll be able to get achievements on original Xbox games, both on PC and on Xbox. And the most interesting thing is that fans very quickly after this launch, within 24 hours of it launching, fans discovered that this is actually an Xbox 360 emulator that is basically emulating the 360, emulating the original Xbox, which is a crazy sort of, snake eating its tail sort of thing. But what that does tell us, as well as making us go cross-eyed, is it tells us that this program presumably will also be a pathway to getting Xbox 360 games on PC. And obviously there's quite a lot of stuff. Fable 2, Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, games in of that stripe.
I don't know. I don't know how much people work on like Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey, because both of those have like either decomps or recomps. They're pretty far along at this point. So, I mean...
Yeah, but they're not quite at that just download and go, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think, Tom is on this call. PGR 3 and 4. Project Gotham. They are games that you could be able to buy on a PC soon.
It depends. It depends if they let that happen, right? Because obviously those games weren't on...
they aren't on Xbox back compat. They aren't on Xbox back compat at all.
Because I get licensing issues and stuff because of the way the whole thing worked. But yeah, I mean, if you could put in a disc and play something, it's great. I mean, I'd like them to add a few. Obviously, the back compat stuff was great. They've done a good job with it, right? But there's some games that never made it across, and for various reasons, that if they could add some more, that'd be great. I think it's much as like, yes, there are emulators on PC that let you play all this stuff, a lot of these things. I think it depends who you are, right? Like if us, for example, that's probably doable. But maybe if you don't, you don't know what an emulator is, you don't care, you buy stuff officially and that's it. Having it there is a good thing for the broader gaming population, I guess. And I guess it's just like if you have an Xbox library and you're like, can I take this with me outside of Xbox? This is that option, right? Like long term, probably. But yeah, like I can see it. Like it isn't for everyone, but I think it's is positive. I'd say.
Yeah, to what you said there and what James has said, the thing about it's that old Gabe Newell thing, that old Valve adage that Gabe said, where he was like, "We're not worried about piracy because we think piracy is as much a consequence of putting up barriers and making things difficult. If it's a pain in the ass to buy a game because of really intrusive DRM and stuff like that, you think more willingly about pirating it. If you've got an easy legal way to do something, a lot of people would. So I'll give you an example of like a game that they could get at through this, which is Perfect Dark. You can take either one of them. You can take the N64 original with the 360 XBLA port, which is great, or you can take the Take Zero. In either case, well, in the case of Perfect Dark 64 in particular, there is a decomp. But the decomp, you've got to go to GitHub, you've got to download the decomp, then you've got to source a ROM, then you've got to inject the ROM into the thing, and it becomes this massive pain in the ass to do it. If they're in a position where they can put that into my Windows library and I can literally just download it and run it, I will literally just download it and run it. And there is another element of this, which I don't know if they'd want to do this, but this totally opens up an angle to sell these old games on Steam as well, if they want to. Which I would if I was them. I'd be like, let's put Conquer on Steam for 15 quid. Let's put, well, admittedly, Viva Pinata did have a PC port back in the day, but Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise, the second one, let's put that on Steam for 20 quid, whatever. So I see a path. I think it's a cool thing. I think it's cool it exists. I think it's slightly crazy that this got announced like days after they let the guy who was like in charge of a lot of the engineering on this project go. But
the problem they have is that everything they announce for a while is going to come with they're doing this to cover up the fact that they've laid off or will lay off 3,000 whatever people, right? So
wow,
it's all off. Some of this stuff was going to happen anyway, right? It isn't all reactionary, but it does. They can't get away from it. Like it's going to be there and probably should be for a while, right?
Well, the nature of Xbox is rough, smooth, and so that brings us right on round to they had an announcement about ad-supported game streaming. I don't want to put words in their mouth, so I'm going to quote them directly here. So, quote, "Today, we're starting to test an ad-supported way to stream select games from your library for a limited time available to Xbox Insiders," which, unquote, the Xbox Insiders is the program that you can sign up for to test beta stuff. Quote, "During this test period, Xbox Insiders with an Xbox account will be able to stream games they own for free with ads. Players will have 1 hour session limits across supported devices and regions. Ads will play before sessions begin. The core game experience is unchanged, and this is optional. Players can choose other ways to play at any time." I mean, the logic is basically, if you don't want to pay for the xCloud streaming stuff, you can watch an ad before you. It's the same stuff. People have been outraged about this, but I've got to be honest, I struggle to get any fire in my belly for this because it is the same stuff that that Nvidia do with GeForce Now. You either pay the money, and GeForce Now is the best game streaming service, by the way. But you either pay the money and you don't have any ads, or you pay less or pay nothing and have some ads. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I struggle to get much.
I kind of feel the same way as you with the ad thing. The only thing I dislike about Microsoft and ads is they, like how they do it on the console dashboard. It just pisses me off because you could argue that someone's paying for that spot, fair enough. But I like when Doom: The Dark Ages was releasing, I had bought that game, the premium edition, on Xbox on the actual, like I had the Xbox console digital version, the premium edition. I had 2 ads on my dashboard for it. One was that it's coming out soon, and one was upgrade to play early. I literally have the license on the same console. Why is it showing me these ads? That's like my only issue with Xbox and ad stuff. Like every console except for Nintendo, although Nintendo does it on the, like when you just wake up your Switch 2 from sleep mode, it has
News thing,
the news section has like this sale is on for like any publisher, which is whatever. And Sony does it as well. Like when you switch on your console, there'll be a thing like pre-order something now sometimes or whatever. So all these guys are going to do it. I understand that. It's annoying, but yeah, I just wish they'd fix that. As for streaming, like, yeah, this stuff is not free. You have to pay for it somehow. Like, you could argue that owning the game is enough, but you still need to pay for the servers and stuff. So, like, it being a value add on Xbox Game Pass is fine. Like, I've not had too many issues with it when it works, but the initial launch sometimes just it fails, or it says like you need to wait in a queue and stuff. That annoys me. Like, I've paid for, you have a paid subscription for Game Pass since a few years. I still have that. It's still going on because I've had Game Pass for a long time or whatever. So like having a queue over there is kind of like they need to fix those things, I'd say. But then like, yeah, they're gonna try and do too many things with whatever. I don't have a problem with them having a free tier for this. I worry about how it might affect the people who are actually paying the highest tier on Game Pass. Like, is it gonna start being a thing over there? Like, when Call of Duty last year it came out, when you turned on your console, you got a big splash saying pre-order Call of Duty now. And I'm sure this happened even for people who own Call of Duty on the same console. So like, this is the kind of stuff they need to iron out, I think, before
for me, the dashboard ad thing is a problem in general. It's like when Sony put that giant GTA thing on the front of every PlayStation console at boot. And the big issue that I had with that is lots of children whose parents don't want them playing GTA own PlayStations. And I don't think those kids should necessarily be delivered a full page splash ad for an 18 rated game without any. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there are ways they could see the age on the Sony account or whatever. But stuff like that is, the Xbox Dash has loads of ads. But it's funny, I mentioned earlier rebooting my 3DS. We can't act like this is that we haven't had worse, because I booted my 3DS that I hadn't booted for ages. And it had one of those pre-download demo things. So it's like, here's a new Kirby game, and it puts the icon on your home screen.
Forgot that they started doing that.
And then when you click the icon, it obviously takes you to the eShop, except the eShop is now closed. But nevertheless, I looked at that and I was like, man, Nintendo used to inject demos directly onto your home screen. That
I mean,
shit
they still
is
do
bonkers.
that, right? Don't they do that for when there's like a free week for trying out something on Nintendo Switch Online?
No, they don't.
No, I don't think they inject it straight onto your dash. I think you have to open the NSO.
Okay,
They've got the little notification center.
Yeah, okay, I think what happens is I usually own the game which they are doing this with, so it just pops up onto the front of the thing, and I'm like, why did this game show up here?
Okay,
I think it might
funny.
be that actually. Yeah, it might be that actually. Because
no, they don't do anything as egregious as they did on the 3DS. So I guess this is a path we've been on for a while, and I definitely that's a debate that I want to be opened up more about what is acceptable on the dashboards and stuff like that. But in terms of doing a pre-roll ad where you watch a minute ad before getting an hour of free game streaming, like I'm sort of like that
doesn't bother me.
Fine.
I think the issue, I've seen some people argue that maybe this is going to lead to ads appearing elsewhere, like you press pause and there's an ad, and you're not streaming, but you're still getting ads because they've seen it works for the streaming test or whatever. I mean, we don't know, right? I mean, maybe I think that would be a brave move to start putting ads in games that you've like outside of like we talked about in-game advertising last week, right?
You know what it is. You know what it is. The whole reason why people have gotten upset about this, and to their credit, I understand why, but it's like literally downstream from the whole original Xbox One with the Kinect and everything, where it's like the verification can meme, where it's like you need to be on the camera so you know that you're being properly advertised to. That's not what
didn't
this
actually
is.
happen, though, did it?
That didn't actually happen.
And actually, in fairness, the famous patent, the McDonald's,
yes, I agree. Yeah,
that was a
Sony
patent. Yes, so that's the funny thing. Like they're all at it.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying I am sure that the main reason why people are upset about this utterly benign thing is because of the history there.
Yeah, I think having an option that is, I mean, broadly, this is, I guess, like from my view anyway, like another way to play games. If you don't want to spend, I don't know how much an Xbox is now, 500, 600. I don't know how much a Series X is, for example.
They're all too much
but
now.
This is like, I guess, another attempt at making things more accessible. I know there's catches with this, like you need decent internet and that costs money or whatever else, but everyone, if you're listening to this, you've got internet and you're paying for it in some form probably, but you need a decent connection. You need it like probably not on Wi-Fi ideally and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, a friend of the show, Galgun Connor, pointed out that to me that obviously Xbox or Microsoft broadly is one of the reasons why things have become so expensive. So it's kind of like they're doing a thing to make it maybe more accessible, but possibly wouldn't have needed this without all the other stuff being more expensive. So it's a kind of like good on them, but also, well, like it's the man in the hot dog costume, right?
We're all trying to find the guy who did this. That is like every time Matthew Ball comes out and speaks to Dringo or whoever, when they're talking about AI and the component prices, it's like the parent company is top 3 spenders in the AI, top 5 spenders in the AI space. I think Pete mentioned earlier the idea of this is a harbinger of ads appearing everywhere. That's a bit scary, the idea of ads in pause screens and stuff. Although I do have hope in the sense that, speaking of Dringo, so the game business, a couple of months ago, Chris Dring had a great interview with Strauss Zelnick, the 2K boss, and they talked about this in-game advertising thing. And this is Strauss, right? Who is a hardcore businessman, and famously, he's one of the big CEOs in the business who is the inverse of a Phil Spencer figure. He is resolutely a non-gamer. He does not give a shit about playing games. He just cares about working the business well. Clearly, he's been quite good at it. And he was asked about this, and he was like, look, injecting in-game ads into a sports game makes sense because you want your sports game to resemble a real-life sportscast as closely as possible. But he was like, interrupting someone's experience, I don't think flies. And so hopefully that is the opinion of more people. But I do think you're going to see more. It's that funny thing, right? Of like, we as an industry have put so much time and effort and thought into how we eliminate loading screens, whether that's with super fast hard drive setups and I/O presentation on Mark Cerny figuring out the quickest I/O imaginable, or whether that's squeezing through gaps to hide a load screen.
Maybe this is the way. Maybe SSDs are so expensive now. It's back to old hard drives, and we have loading screens where they put ads on.
Those are getting expensive too. So.
They are. One of my backup hard drives died. Like, I have a backup of a backup because I'm mental. One of those died, and I was looking at how much it costs to replace it, and it literally was 3 times what I paid for it 2 years ago. So, like, yeah, that's not safe from this.
Yeah. Well, it's still be cheaper than SSDs.
Mikhail, speaking of SSDs, I saw the wind change like right after when like RAM started shooting up. I was like, I'm good on RAM, but if I'm going to get another SSD, get it now. I got one in October last year. It was a Gen 5 NVMe because those prices hadn't risen yet, even though Gen 3 and 4 had. It was top of the line and just released like that week. It was like I think a Corsair MP700 XT something. A good, pretty much the best Gen 5 NVMe you could get. It was like $250 for 2 terabytes. Now, you can't even buy it anywhere except Corsair's official shop. And you know how much it's going for? $1,400.
$1,400. Holy shit. Wow. Well, as I've said to some of my mates who don't keep quite as high a track of the ongoing nightmare, the best time to buy the components needed to upgrade your PC if you need an upgrade was yesterday, and the second best time is today. Because it's only getting worse, at least for the next 9 to 12 months. Anyway, we just motoring on because we've already got a lot of time on the clock. Very, very briefly, just want to touch on some updates on some stories from last week. So the Lego Donkey Kong set has been revealed now. It's got Steve Wiebe, the famous Donkey Kong record-setting player from the movie The King of Kong, in the ad. That's 150 quid. Can't remember. 150 quid and $200, I think.
I think I saw it for 135 today.
Ooh, that's somewhere.
Is that cheaper than the Pac-Man one?
Yeah, the Pac-Man one was like 180, I want to say. But the Pac-Man one seemed more functional. But it is cool. You can press a button and the barrel goes down, and then you can press up to make Mario jump over the barrel. It's cute. It's cute. So yeah, you can check that out. That's on Lego's site. We mentioned last week the Dustbloods beta. You can apply for that now on the official Dustbloods site. So if you want to be in that, you need to apply. You do need a Nintendo Switch Online account as well. And Mikhail, you wanted to talk briefly about Marvel Tokon and Xenoblade?
Yeah. So just quickly, so the Marvel Tokon open beta is up right now. And unlike the last closed stuff, which they did, this one's also on PC. I actually was waiting for this to see if it runs on Steam Deck so I can pre-order it, because I play a lot of my fighting games there or on Xbox and PS5. And it just does not let me get into the game. Like it says anti-cheat not found, and then when you check online, it's just affecting a lot of people on Linux in general. So they could have made it work, because Elden Ring has easy anti-cheat as well, and that works on Steam Deck. Like that's one of the best ways you can play it. So it seems like at least the open beta is not functional for people who have Linux or Steam Deck. Kind of a bummer. I did play it on PS5. It's probably like one of the best looking fighting games I've seen in my life. So I would recommend trying it over there. But it's a bummer. I wanted to play this portably. That's just not happening now. And for the Xenoblade thing, they have the thing coming out next week, the Switch 2 edition, and it's coming out physically in October. The digital thing is early, so for everyone who has it can buy it. Just one quick thing I want to bring up. The trailer they uploaded it got me hyped up and all, because I love Xenoblade 2. But it kind of scares me a bit, because I think they might be doing the same thing they did with X and with 1, which has this weird upscaling thing. I will be covering it for sure. I'm going to buy it, in fact, from another region, so I get to play it like a day and a half early. I'm not waiting for the US unlock. So yeah, I will have some stuff on RPG side for that. But yeah, it's a big download. It's like 35 gigs or something just for the upgrade pack. I think, how much are these in the UK? I paid it's like 10 US. I think it's like 7 or 5 or something.
I don't know.
The upgrades are quite cheap,
tenner.
aren't they? I think
They're a tenner.
yeah.
They're a tenner.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's the same. It's the same as the US. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just if you are planning on getting that, it's a huge download, and you can preload it right now. So yeah.
There's some great guides if you end up playing those games. There's some great guides on RPG site for those.
Looking at that comparison screenshot you sent me, Mikhail, I think you fixated on one aspect, but I think the hat is the one that's way more egregious looking at how they adapt those Jaggies. They're 100% using the same exact upscaling filters.
So
I mean, it's all the same tech stack, right? So it makes sense that they would just
It
blanket
is.
apply across
But yeah,
all
the
three
thing is,
games.
but this one was like the one that looked the worst out of all, like in resolution and stuff. So it would probably push the Switch 2 even more if they use the same thing. I guess we'll find out next week when it comes out. But yeah, like I am excited to play it.
I'm not surprised because I'm pretty sure the first Monolith Soft game that actually used TAA was Xenoblade 3. So I'd be willing to bet anything Xenoblade 3 will use DLSS in some form, but not surprising that Xenoblade 1, 2, and Cross use the spatial upscaler that's just bad. So
yeah. And just a quick note, obviously, please do check out respec.net. There's some lovely content on the site this week. Late last week, obviously, Rebecca did talk about it on the pod, but there's her brilliant report on Love and Deep Space, which is sort of a bit of an explainer on all the drama that's been going on around that game. There's also Tom's lovely reviews of Halo and Splatoon.
Not everyone loves them. I've got at least one death threat in the comments.
That would be the Xbox fans from your score. Actually, I will say, I've never said it in the Halo bit, but there was an interesting dichotomy that emerged that the PlayStation specific websites where the writers are less likely to have any nostalgia for Halo scored it on average way lower than the general sites in the Xbox specific websites. Anyway, I digress. There's also a great Guilty Gear interview from James chatting to the guys behind that about that game entering its 5th year and keeping it going and netcode and all sorts of stuff. Now let's have a quick little trip down memory lane and have a look at what happened this week. And the way this section works, guys, James and Mikhail, is just, if you want to say something about one of these games, have at it. But so one that I saw and I was like, what a great game that I haven't thought about in 20 years. Black Belt was out on the Master System this week, 40 years ago. Black Belt, well, I just love those Master System games where they all had the same uniform box and all the games were called like Driver, Black Belt, Shooter,
Shoot Man,
Cop, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you got an arcade port like Hang On. But Black Belt, don't be wrong, none of these Master System games are particularly good. But I have nostalgia for it. Bastion, 15 years old this week, which feels insane. That was their first game, right?
Yeah, on Xbox
Yes.
Live Arcade, it had that big thing with Warner pushing it, and yeah, like that was that Super Meat Boy, and like I think was it Spelunky or was it Fez which came first? Like,
Limbo.
Yeah, it was Limbo at the same time. Like, yeah, like what a fan, and they topped it like by 10 times with Transistor, like one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
read
you
a
are
nice
right.
interview with Supergiant Games on RPG site.
Yes, quite recently. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? That I guess 15 years ago must have been roughly around that time. Then 15, 16 years ago, something like that. That we were in the grip of that. God, remember when Summer of Arcade was a really big thing, and you would have 8 weeks, 10 weeks where there were 2 or 3 absolute fucking indie bangers every week.
I remember going on, was it PartnerNet on the Xbox and just seeing what was there early?
We should talk about PartnerNet on the Patreon pod because that's like a good tangent. Because I can tell some PartnerNet stories that are that back in the day would have got me in loads of trouble, but no one cares anymore. Chris Tales, 5 years old, 25 years old. Yeah, is that right? That can't be right.
Chris Tales, yeah.
Yeah.
When we're going to get an update on that follow-up, because I know that they I forget what it was called, but it was like a multiversal, like all like a party like of all the same character but different versions of. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I wrote about like the news story for that on RPG, so I'm trying to remember what the follow up was actually called.
I just can't believe that's been 5 years. I thought that was like 2 years old. I made these notes, and when I saw it, I was like, I've made a mistake there. That's bonkers. Mario Kart Super Circuit, 25 years old. For my money, one of the weaker Mario Kart games.
Is that the GBA one?
That is the GBA one. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember it particularly. I think I was not a big GBA fan, particularly the original version, which was almost impossible to see the screen.
My reason is there was a really good racing game on GBA at launch, at least the European launch, or thereabouts, which is called Crazy Racers, Crazy with a K, and it was a Konami racing game. So like the characters was like Mystical Ninja Goemon and like I think Dracula from Castlevania and things like that. Although weirdly, I don't think Solid Snake was in it. Such a weird thing. But I just remember Crazy Racers being so good as sort of a Mario Kart clone that Grey Fox from Metal Gear was in it. Okay, but they didn't put Snake in it for some reason. But I just remember that being so good that sort of by the time Mario Kart came out, which was sometime later, I was like, I've sort of experienced the SNES style racing game. So I would say it probably is one of the weaker Mario Karts. But yeah, and the original GBA was not a good experience. I remember Golden Sun being the game that pushed me over the edge on that front with the screen and the sun glare and stuff like that. Because turns out that is not the best way to play a game where you've got to read loads and loads of text. Yeah. Rhythm Heaven Fever, 15 years old.
Still the best one.
Still the best one. The new one is good. But the funny thing about Rhythm Heaven is they're all sort of, it's the most 8 out of 10 series ever. Every one of them is just like a solid 8.
I'd say that Rhythm Heaven Fever is the closest it's gotten to a 9.
Yeah, I can see that.
Was Fever the
I can
Wii
see
one?
that.
Yes, it's the Wii one.
That's the only one I haven't played. Yeah, I haven't played that.
Oh, it's the best one.
I just cannot be bothered with that Wii nunchuck shit. Like, I'm not doing
Well, here's
that,
the thing.
So.
It doesn't use any motion controls. It literally just uses the A button
just
and
uses
the
A
button
and
on
B
the
button. Yeah.
But like, I think when I had a Wii U, when I borrowed one for a bit, like you had to set up that stupid sensor and shit. I was like, I'm just not playing these.
You
games.
do have to have the sensor set up to even boot a game.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Well, actually, no, you don't have to do that anymore. They did an update like a decade ago where you could literally just set up the gamepad and it can be the sensor bar for you.
I think now I'll just wait.
What,
for
you
them
put
to,
your
like,
gamepad in front of the TV?
Yeah, because the camera can actually work as the IR sensor.
I'm not.
But you mean the
that.
Wii U gamepad?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're talking about base Wii though, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm not doing that, so.
Anyway, I mean, this game gave us the Wrestling Interview Girl, which is the best Rhythm Heaven minigame. Like that is the all-time great. It's always the one that I think of when I think of that series. I think of Wabba Dabba Dub. Is that true?
Well,
but
you go, big guy.
Yeah, 15 years. Max Payne, 25. I wonder how long it'll be until that remake we hear about. I was wondering, actually, with it being 25 years, so that was yesterday from when this podcast will be released, that turned 25. And I did think when I was putting the anniversary together for this episode, I was like, will they maybe drop a little screenshot or something on the anniversary? But no, but also I guess if you're Rockstar, you aren't talking about any damn thing until after November. Yeah, which is fair enough.
Maybe a cinematic teaser at the Game Awards.
Yeah, that would work, to be fair. Although I just don't know. Do Rockstar care about paying for that sort of placement? Would they be charged for that sort of placement? Who knows? Or would they be giving it as a freebie? Not one that I'm particularly bothered about, but Klonoa 2, 25 this week.
I first played through Klonoa 1 and 2 with the remaster pack, and I actually came away thinking that Klonoa 2 is a better game than Klonoa 1, markedly so. And it feels kind of surprising that I feel like most people only talk about the first one.
It's sort of, I feel like that's often the case with those mascot games that aren't Mario or Sonic. I feel like people mainly talk about Spyro 1, they mainly talk about Crash 1, they mainly talk about Banjo-Kazooie and not Banjo-Tooie, even though Banjo-Kazooie is a really good game, and actually Banjo-Kazooie is probably a better game than Tooie, but Tooie is so impressive. Like, it's wildly impressive, but no one talks about it. Bit of a weird thing about that. I guess people remember these games where the characters emerge, but then it's weird because in the 90s, as soon as Sonic 2 came out, no one wanted to talk about Sonic 1 at all. That's because Sonic 2 is one of the best sequels of all time, I suppose. That will be an unpopular opinion. I can guarantee you that. And then a couple more. Catherine is 15 years old, which when I realised that, I mainly just thought, I miss when those guys were doing weird little offshoots, and then I remembered Metaphor exists. But I guess what I'm saying is Metaphor is just Persona in a different setting in many ways, whereas Catherine was truly something weird. I also really love that Catherine is in the same messed up universe as Persona, more or less. Obviously, Vincent is in Persona 3 Portable. And
Did
I
you get the collector's edition for Catherine? It had those boxers and some pillow and some shit.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
A friend
I
of
remember
mine
there was
gifted
some
it to
weird
me on
press kit.
360. Yeah, probably.
I remember there was a weird press kit. I don't know if you had that a video game, or I don't remember what was in it, Tom, but I just remember that it was strange.
I don't think so.
It was, well, I remember they had a weird review event or preview event as well. I think they had, girls dressed up as the characters from the games, acting in ways that would not be appreciated now. But the past is another country. And finally, I think a poignant one, just in the regards that of stuff that has recently happened. But We Happy Few turned 10 years old this week, which obviously that was the second game from Compulsion, and obviously Compulsion now is in the unpleasant situation of they've been spun out of Xbox and they don't really know what their fate is going to be, and it's sad and it sucks. They released 3 really quite good games. Contrast, We Happy Few, South of Midnight. However you look at it, there's a long time. 2013 for Contrast, 2018 for We Happy. Not 2018 for We Happy Few. Is it 10? Oh, have I made an error? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Some time ago for that one, and then recently, South of Midnight. Yeah, they made We Happy Few. I think I remember it because it had like an early access release, right? And it was like a little bit of the game, and I never got into it much. And I think that coloured what I thought of the whole game, because I think obviously when it finally got finished, it was a much bigger thing. But I just remember the kind of what I felt was a fairly ropey early access version. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
I
so
made a horrendous error there, but
it launched in early access in 2016. So
right. So okay. So we're talking about the early access release. That makes more sense. And so yeah, and then it finally released in 2018. But I guess what I was saying was, the pace at which that studio was able to put games together, which is about resources as much as anything, right? Was part of, I think, probably what ended up being a problem for them then when they were owned by Microsoft. There's this whole axis emerging of these companies want games fast, but it's impossible to make these big AAA games fast. But yeah, Shem, there was definitely a mood. 2016, 2018, when that game came out, though, there were a lot of those BioShock-esque games, and We Happy Few was one of the best of them, I think. Yeah, I played it. I finished it. Maybe it was the early access you played, Tom, which is what
It was
turns 10
definitely.
years
I
old.
definitely only played the early access one. Yeah, they kind of like it put me off a bit. I never really went back properly to see what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one. Anyway, I mean, goodness me, always end up writing stuff and writing topics for us to talk about, and then skipping over some because stuff takes time. And we had a couple of really interesting new games to talk about, which I don't think will be the case next week. I think it's a bit of a quieter week. But that will probably about do it for this week, unless anyone has anything further to add.
Should all check out my newsletter,
Mm.
lowpolymess.com, where this week I write about the film Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah.
That makes it sound like you wrote it with her rather than you writing about the film.
Yeah, I mean, she was there. And no, so it's not really about the film as such either. It's just about how they got rid of the main song from the film. It's just gone, which I found quite odd.
Well, that's a bit like video games deleting stuff, losing songs from GTA, whatever. Obviously, don't forget, you can visit respec.net for the website, and there's content on there, stuff to read with your eyes and your brain. You can also click through from that website or head to patreon.com/respecnet, RESPECNET. And you can support us on Patreon, and you will get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside knowing that you're helping to keep independent games media alive. But also, there'll be some nice bonus content, including a bonus podcast every single week where we waffle on off-topic conversations. And of course, you can also join us on Discord to hang out. Again, there is a link on the Respec site to that. Please come hang out. You can chat to us, and indeed, you can help us to shape what future episodes of this and the Patreon stuff looks like. And of course, James and Mikhail, you can read them both on Respec, but also you can read a lot of stuff from them over on our sister site of RPG site. So feel free to check that out, which is much more in-depth nerdy coverage, specifically obviously of the role-playing genre, and it's going to be a relatively busy couple of months in that wheelhouse, I think. So it should be interesting.
I am not looking forward to September.
It's going to be hard work, I think. Well, there's been conversations about some of that starting to happen this week, and it's already given me a headache. But there we go. Anyhow, that's it from us for this week. We're gonna go and have a little bit of a record of an after hours. Yeah. So until next week, everyone, say goodbye, Mikhail.
Goodbye, Mikhail.
Say goodbye, James.
Goodbye.
And Mr. Orry.
See ya.
See ya. Tommy's always poetic. Until next time, everyone. See ya.